Hi everybody, this is the demonstration video of all of the new things going on in update 1.9 of the Task Force 373 MH-47 Golf mod. There's a ton of stuff to get through here, so let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to be working roughly in order of the things that are in the changelog, however there's a few things that I will highlight out of order. Starting with a few bug fixes. One issue that was fixed was that when the ramp would be fully down, when it was landed on level ground, it would kind of pop the rear wheels off the ground. That has been fixed. Additionally, there was an issue where under certain circumstances, when the aircraft was spawned in midair, the engines would not turn on. That has also been fixed. And for those of you that use ACRE, specifically the ACRE ICS or Intercrew Communication System functionality within ACRE, several of the crew seats that were missing that functionality now have them. Those are the main bug fixes here. I'm going to go ahead and dive into the actual new features now. Several of these features do require ACE3, so keep that in mind. Okay, so a couple new things. Let's go ahead and walk up to the aircraft here. So first of all, you may recall in previous versions of the mod, whenever you would turn the collision lights of the aircraft on, it would also turn on a red internal light. We've separated that out from the collision lights now, and we've also extended the functionality of that. So let's go ahead and turn it to nighttime. Alright, it is now nighttime, so I'm going to go ahead and hop on into one of these crew positions here. And let's go to one of these back guns, and we should have the ability to turn on the cabin lights in two different levels of illumination. We have a white light setting, which is nice and very bright. This is synced for all players, unlike how it has been in previous iterations of the mod where sometimes the lights wouldn't behave, and it also does light all the way up into the cockpit. Now we can go ahead and turn those lights off, and then we can turn them on in a lower light setting, which is a little bit more NVG friendly. Doesn't blow out your NVGs if you have them on. Provides a little bit more ambient lighting, but in general is a little more pleasing to the eye at nighttime. So we'll go ahead and turn those off. Also, as a note regarding the cabin lights, while they are ACE interactions in the crew positions, they are scroll wheel interactions in the pilot positions, the pilot and the co-pilot, for those that can't necessarily ACE interact while their hands are on controls, as the scroll wheel is a little more conducive to HOTAS and whatnot like that. So those are available via that. Up next, the ACRE ICS, as mentioned with the bug fixes, has now been expanded. There are now two separate channels for the crew to have their own dedicated private network, and passengers have their own dedicated network. As you can see here, crew have access to both the crew and the PAX channel, and by default when you enter a crew position, you will be on the crew ICS. If you wish to speak over or monitor the PAX ICS, you can simply connect to it there and do that. Passengers only have access to the passenger ICS, and the new troop commander seat, which you will see shortly, also has access to the crew ICS so that they can maintain situational awareness while in the aircraft. Moving on along to the aforementioned troop commander seat. Stuck in the ramp. I'm going to go ahead and swap it back to daytime here. And we walk on up here and we have our nice new troop commander seat now. So obviously the function of this seat is for the commander of the troops that are in the back. They have enhanced situational awareness, as previously mentioned, through the crew and the PAX ICS channel. And also they can see directly out the aircraft, directly out the front of the aircraft, so they can have a better idea of the landing zone, and they can also see the pilot's FLIR feed there. They also have the option to sit down in this little spot right here. You can see when you stand up, you're just kind of standing there in that little doorway, you got your gun at your side and whatnot, looking all cool and awesome. Moving on along here, this is one of kind of my favorite features here. I'm going to go ahead and restart the scenario so that we get outside of it, but before I do that, I will touch on one other thing. So one other thing that we've got here now is an Eden attribute for the ramp state. So it just defaulted there, but you can set the ramp state on spawn at this point. So instead of it always being down, you can set it to level, you can set it to cracked, which is a new ramp state that we have that I will show off here in a little bit, or you can set it to up. Personally, I like to keep it to up. And the reason why I like to keep it to up is going to be shown in all of the new external ACE interactions that we're about to run through. So these are a number of ACE interactions for being outside of the aircraft to do things to manipulate different parts of the aircraft or otherwise do things that would be more akin to some of the things you could do in real life if you weren't actually directly on the gun position. So I have ACE here, and I have the ACE interaction key bound to my Windows key. So when I press Windows key, you can see that there are a few actions that pop up depending on where you are. This is where the fuel panel for this side of the tanks are on the real aircraft, so we have a nice little interaction here to check the fuel levels here, and it tells you a little hint up top. And it will also give you the fuel consumption rate when the engines are running. Moving on along, we can go ahead and open this door up here, and then we can go ahead and swing the minigun in. And then once that's out of the way, we will get an action to enter the aircraft. Now that we're in here, we can go ahead and close all this stuff back. And we have a few other actions here, mostly around the ramp area. So first of all, although we don't have it modeled, this is where the switches for the cabin lights, or rather, this is where the aft compartment set of switches for the cabin lights are. So you can access that, and that will access the lights as shown before. Then we also have the ramp controls here. Cool and awesome. Let's go ahead and lower that so we can get access over here. I will say, as a caveat here, I'm not sure if it's an ARMA-ism or something to do with this very old model, but in general, if you're standing directly in front of the action, it will be the best kind of experience there. So you can see how sometimes it kind of goes away, but if you stand directly in front of it, you shouldn't have any issue doing it. Moving on, we have our maintenance panel here. These are a series of messages that correspond to different damage states of the various components of the aircraft, and those damage states being translated into realistic error messages based on not only the things that are on the maintenance panel in the actual aircraft, but also the ways that a educated crew member would interpret those readings on the maintenance panel. So instead of saying, you know, so we have normal auxiliary oil pressure there at the right. Instead of saying, you know, oil pressure is 100 psi, for example, and then knowing that if it's at 50 psi, then you should probably land, just as a hypothetical, it would say something to the effect of, like, oil pressure dangerously low, or something to that effect. And then we have the other half of it, which is for the hydraulics, which obviously is for your flight controls and the general control surfaces of the aircraft. And these actions are also accessible through the aft crew member positions crew action menu, as I will show here shortly. Let me see if there's any other... Yeah, I believe that is all of the ACE interactions, the external ones. The only other one that I will highlight here is as we entered the aircraft, we can also exit the aircraft. So get that all out the way, and we can exit. Nice and easy, cool and awesome. Moving right along. You may have seen earlier, as the crew action menu that I was using to manipulate the windows, or not the windows, but the lights and whatnot. The crew action menu has several different things depending on what seat you're in. So if we move into the forward gun positions here, the crew action menu has the cabin lights, and we also have access to the refueling panel, which is in this kind of forward closet here on the actual aircraft. And that's going to give you that same information. Oh, there we go. That's going to give you that same information that the one outside would, but you can obviously check it while you're flying. The other action here, we'll get to this swing forward right gun inside when we talk about the hoist overhaul. But one action that all of the crew members have access to is the ability to remove the cargo seats. Now, you may recall in previous versions of the mod, you can remove the cargo seats in the vehicle arsenal, and you could sit kind of in that middle row on the floor, but in general, you couldn't really do much else with it. Here, once I remove these cargo seats, this opens up the entire floor of the aircraft for seating. I'll splice in a screenshot here at some point to demonstrate, but I'll go ahead and jump in and show you that it won't put you kind of in an invisible seat that doesn't exist like it would have before if you tried to ride him back. But you can see I ride him back and it puts me here, and I can change seat and go to, say, this one, or this one or whatever. So yeah, different option, as in real life doctrinally there's different reasons why they might have seats in or seats out, or just based on preference of the customers. So that is one of the common actions that's available on all of these seats. So we'll go ahead and use that crew action menu to bring them back. One thing that I will note as a caveat here, for those of you that use the Eden editor to pre-fill the aircraft on, like with soldiers and whatnot, the script that unlocks and locks these seats, I found that it behaves kind of inconsistently. If you're manually putting people in during the time that before the mission has started, quote unquote, as far as the engine is concerned. So if you are trying to have people in this at mission start, I would recommend either giving them a waypoint to enter the vehicle after the mission has started, or to write a script to move them into the vehicle, like teleport them into the vehicle manually as soon as the mission starts, just for the initialization scripts to be handled correctly. That being said, as mentioned before with the maintenance panel, in the aft crew positions here, we have access to it. We have access to that check engine, we have access to the check hydraulics, and then we also have access to do both, which is just a quick check, and that will do both sets of messages in one hint dialogue there. Moving on down the line here. Additionally, we have access to the ramp controls in all of the aft crew member positions now. So we can raise, lower, crack, level the ramp from all the various crew member positions that are in the back specifically. So that would be your back crew, your aft left and aft right gunner. One thing you may have noticed in the time that I've been showing this is that the crew seat names look a little bit different. In general, just updated the names to be a little more realistic and a little more to the point and direct as far as what it actually means, instead of being ambiguous as door gunner and crew chief, for example. Those are now forward left and forward right gun. Moving along here. So while we're here in this aft gun position, the ramp seats are now back. You may recall in a prior update they were there and then they were removed due to some issues that they appeared to be having at the time. So the ramp seats are using some custom logic here now. They're not available to be sat in unless two conditions are true. One, you are in one of these aft left or aft right gun positions, and two, the ramp is leveled. When you level the ramp, you will see I get this move to ramp seat option here, and that allows that crew chief to move on to the ramp seat. And that will lock the aft right gun position so that no one can steal it and take it, and then you can move right back to it, move to the ramp seat and whatnot. If you get out, it will lock and unlock the appropriate seats and whatnot, so you can still get into your aft right gun. And then aft left gun obviously does the same, but puts you on the other side of the ramp there. So just another little quality of life feature for individuals that are crewing on the aircraft there. Moving along here, we have, real quick, before we get into what is, in my opinion, one of the best parts of this update, those of you that are familiar with the ACE cargo system here, crew members are now able to use this airdrop function. Previously it was just the pilot, just to assist with a little bit more kind of crew gameplay there. So crew members can actually do the paradrop. So moving forward into what is, in my opinion, the coolest part of this update by far, is the thorough overhaul of the entire hoist seat. You may have noticed here we haven't had the ability to get into the hoist operator seat. For just kind of as a baseline, the hoist operator seat is now only available under logical conditions in which the hoist operator seat should be available. So we'll go ahead and hop into our right gun position here, and ultimately we're going to go through the whole process of using the hoist here. The first step in doing that is swinging the forward right gun inside. Once the right gun has been swung inside, you are automatically moved into the hoist operator position. You'll see that now the hoist operator can actually operate the hoist. Crazy concept, but now we can do it. And that is through this hoist menu here, and they have the option to deploy the hook and then raise, lower it, and whatnot, etc. One thing that I will note here, obviously if you just want to chill in the hoist operator seat and just get a better look, maybe you play first person only and you're a crew chief trying to clear your pilot, this is an excellent seat for that. And as you get out and whatnot, it will stay unlocked like it should be. So we'll go ahead and jump into actually using the hoist. We'll deploy our hook here. And now, through this interaction menu, we have a number of options. So we can recover it, which will bring it back in and undeploy it. We can move to the hoist, which will actually have us sit on the hook. We can lower the hook to the ground, raise it back up to us, and then stabilize it. It's kind of dangling here a bit, so we're going to go ahead and stabilize. And then now, we'll just go ahead and lower it. If you're familiar with how the hoist functioned before, in the 1.8 and before, ultimately the raising and the lowering and the recovering of it is the same, more or less. One difference being when you recover it, it will put you back in that forward right gun position. The kind of main considerations being, we have these messages down here at the bottom left, and then also that you obviously can't recover the hoist hook if it's all the way down. Let me think if there's anything else I need to hit here. So we raise up the hook. Let's go ahead and move to it. One thing you will also note here now is that we have the ability to move from the hook into the helicopter, and that will put us into one of these cargo seats here. Let's go ahead and hop back into the hoist operator position here. Don't mind the finickiness. The game doesn't really like this model with it like swung in and like showing the options. So I'm just gonna ace interact over here, maybe. Yep, let's just go into like the loadmaster position, and then back into the hoist operator position. So that is by and large kind of what's going on with the hoist. Hopefully it will allow people to use the hoist operationally, especially for those that might fly AFM and have hands on the controls and otherwise can't be using the hoist. That being said, this does not lock the hoist operation entirely to the hoist operator position. Both the pilot and the co-pilot have this entire suite of controls as well with the hoist. So we'll go ahead and recover that, and that will swing the gun back in and put us out. Moving along swiftly to some of the other things here, you may have noticed in the loadmaster position, they now have the action to actually open the hellhole. That was originally pilot only, so we're still kind of clipping through it, but I can open it, and then it is properly open. So we'll close that on up, and then we will hop out. Moving on swiftly here, the next thing that we've got here, a quality of life change that brings the aircraft a little bit more in line with reality, for lack of a better term. The startup sequence takes a little bit more time at this point. The startup sequence takes 90 seconds to get to full engine power from the time that you start it up. I won't do it here just for the sake of it, but it is right around that 90-second mark. And you can typically, if you're in AFM, you can use that little indicator up in the top left for your RPM to determine whether or not it's ready to go, or you can just listen. You'll hear the APU kick off towards the time it hits that kind of 90-second-ish mark. So when you hear the APU go off, which is that little whine that's underneath, kind of behind the engines, for lack of a better term, that is when you will know that you are at full power. Moving along, one thing that you may have noticed here is that the name of the aircraft is much shorter. We simplified it a little bit here, and you can see that it is just MH-47G, and then for the version without the rear M240s, it is MH-47G, no rear guns, and then for the British one, it is RAF Chinook HC5. Getting towards the end of things here, there are new textures for the RAF Chinook HC5 with the Royal Air Force logo there on the fuel tanks, and then the Union Jack on the aft pylon. Has the same call signs as you would come to expect. Additionally, there is a new option in the vehicle arsenal to hide the tail numbers here. So we can bring those back, check it out, hides it on both sides, and that is available on all three versions of the aircraft. that has been all of the new features, upgrades, fixes, and otherwise for update 1.9 of the TF373 MH-47 Golf mod. Hope you guys enjoy some of the new features. Hope you guys get some use out of it and enjoy the update in general. It's been a long time coming, and we're very stoked to have it release. If you like it, definitely give it good ratings on Steam. Leave a nice comment. Join us in the TF373 MH47 Golf Discord, and yeah, have a good day, folks.